Hey everybody, ModelMan here with more of the Jupiter 2. And a quick look at what I'm doing is way over here. You can see these black fiber optics coming out. That is one of these test fit into place to make sure that it was going to fit, and it was actually a little bit of a dicey procedure. I'll be getting to that very soon, or reviewing it with you rather. There's one more over here. I have to repaint the face of that around all those fiber optics, so that'll be an interesting little trick. Over here, I'm ready to install sequencer number 4. Per the previous one, right there, I've notched out a few spaces along the bottom so that wires can slip under there with relative ease. This one I was going to install somewhere up above or behind the freezer wall there. What I've decided to do is that this is such a low profile and there's so much room down here that I'm going to be throwing it right about there, I think. If it weren't for all of this Ava's built up there, I'd do it along the divider line, or the reinforcement line, I guess it would be. Not quite a buttress, but it helps a little. So I'm going to glue this one down right about there, as I mentioned. That should be out of the way enough to keep things okay. All of these wires are going to get strung under these wires here, and then over to this area, which is where all of these wires are currently housed. Yeah, it looks like I should be able to fit almost all of the LEDs just over here. The fiber optics from the furthest one will just about reach the closest LED. I might have to make the closest LED like here, perhaps, for example. But it will work, and that's the important thing going on. There will be 5 or 6 yellow LEDs on the sequencer going through there, and I'll probably even pull some color off of another LED on a different sequencer. We'll see how that works out. And a last final note is that to help make sure as I flip this back and forth, up and down, that everything stays okay, I've got this sheet of bubble wrap that I'm keeping it on, and hopefully that will keep things in relatively good shape. Because doing this sort of thing to it is not necessarily a safe thing at all. So the soffit fits pretty well, but it seems like it could go down even further in a few places. I may have to glue it into place. We'll see. Back when I originally wired this up, it was probably just about 4 years ago, one of the very first things I did, and since then technology has changed a lot, actually. And what I'll be doing is replacing these dozen or so LEDs with a strip of regular LED tape from Modeler's brand, and it's going to make a really big difference, be that much more compact and efficient, and provide a ton more light, if not 3 to 4 times as much for less space. So here's one last before shot. Every single LED has up to 4 solder points, 1 for each leg, plus 2 for the resistors. And then of course all the wires. That's definitely a crappy way to have done these things back then. So next up, the flashing on this guy here is pretty interesting because it's totally not what you would think it would be. I'm happy about that. Everything's running alright so far, and it's just about time. You can see how loose that guy is there. It's just about time to glue him in, I think, and all these fiber optics are pretty much going to be able to go all over the place. I'm really happy about that. Very, very happy. One thing I may not be able to do is get a really fast sequencer going on. So far, the consoles in the freezer tube computers, 4 sequencers, they're all set to slow, and they're just drifting off of each other, and that's pretty much the way they were in the show, fairly slow. But on the command console itself, all the lights up there, there are some very fast flashing lights. and that would require another sequencer. I'll see if I can do that, but I'm definitely going to be moving ahead and getting these computer consoles. The other two of them are sitting over there. One is ready for paint. That's definitely my priority for the moment. So let me look around here and I'll get back to you in a second. And here we go, 5 LEDs for the command consoles. These two here and then these 5 over here. They're plugged into 3 different sequencers. Let me show one off at a time, I think, by changing the speed. You can see we got this guy here, 1, 2, 3. And let's slow them back down again. And speed these guys up. Which leaves this guy here on a different circuit entirely. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to want the slowest setting for all of them. My notes say that overall about 3/4 of the lights are on at any given time. In this case, there's a moment where only one LED will be on, such as right there. However, pretty much everything else is going on all the time. So these LEDs are about ready to have all the fiber optics stuffed into them. Next up, I'm going to be gluing one of the computer consoles down, probably that one, and I can do a second one, and the third one I still have to paint. I think those are the only other changes I've made. Actually, I put this 2-pin clip on the freezer tubes, and I'll be putting a 2-pin clip onto the rest of it, so they're on 2 different circuits. And I think that's about it for the moment. It looks like I've still got a green LED to wire up right there on the edge, and all of these fibers are just kind of sitting there waiting to be placed. Looks like I might have glued one. Yep, I accidentally glued one of them. So let's trim him. There we go. And I definitely got to get all this fiber optics bundle right here trimmed down as well. This is definitely a bit of a mess. Alright, so I got the tension pretty much at the base there, which is nice. That shouldn't rip, hopefully. And I'm gonna glue it straight down here. So this will essentially be my rip stop for this. Usually heat shrink, when you put super glue on it, really goes right away. surprised, very surprised, it's not stuck fast almost instantly.